Hey guys, welcome back to Geared Forwards. My name's Paul and today we're going to talk about pry bars a bit generally, why you should really carry one, if it's suitable for you, should you do it, and that's basically it. Let's get into it, but first I've just got some stuff here just so you have something to see, so I have some examples to talk about. So let's just quickly shoot through these. This is the Olight OPry titanium multifunctional stuff. I have a full video on that. I also have one on the O-Tackle 2 as well, kind of a similar thing, also from Olight. The links to these will hopefully be popping up there, should I remember. Then next up we have the Gerber Shard. This is a very affordable, very well-known, and I think well-liked pry bar. I would say quite unique advantage compared to the average is this nice big cant that you have, so that you can really use this as a nail puller. You got quite a lot of leverage, but at the same time obviously that is just a little less convenient to carry. This is a true utility fish face. So this is a pry bar, but we do have a whole bunch of other things mixed in as well here, which you can see it's labeled. You can see. This is, I believe, just a generic multi-tool. You'll probably see plenty of these on Amazon. This was a gift that was nicely paracord wrapped with this little clip. I'm quite a fan of it. I use it every now and then. It sits in one of my kits. And this is my Pry from Riven Knife Works. This is the older style. It's different now. This is hardened 01 tool steel. And I have it on this little crab clip just because it's very easy to remove should I want to take it off, hand it to somebody, or just not hold my keys whilst I use it. And finally, this, quite worryingly, came in a phone screen repair kit from Amazon. This is not the kind of tool you should be using to repair your phone. Use a spudger. Do not use this. But it was an absurdly cheap way to get a steel pry bar. We have again a bit of that cant, so you can really get some levering on it. Just a nice little cheap pry bar. So the primary point of a pry bar is, as it says in the name, to pry things. The most kind of iconic and visual way for me to put this task in your mind is to say, imagine when you open up a paint can. Typically you probably do that with a flathead screwdriver, perfectly fine thing to do it with, but that is the kind of leveraging, prying action that I'm talking about. I'm not saying that you should use these for that, they're not all suitable for that either. I'm just trying to get through what kind of motion that pry bars typically entail. So another thing is that a lot of pry bars, specifically nowadays, are not just pry bars. They are more correctly classified as one-piece tools, often abbreviated as OPTs. And at bare minimum, a lot of the time, you're going to see bottle openers on these tools, just because it just makes sense to just throw that in. It's just a cutout. It actually reduces weight at the same time. You might get some of them acting as flathead screwdrivers on the end. And then quite often you'll get cutouts which are multifunctional, such as hex drivers. You might get bit storage to be used in an integrated driver, which might just be pressure fit, might have a detent and magnet, stuff like that. They might have pocket clips, they might not. Now, dedicated pry bars most definitely do still exist. One of the more notable ones in the EDC world is probably the Rogan breach tool. That is a heavy-duty pry bar that is basically just a pry bar. It is an absolute beast. So this is more kind of like pry bar / one-piece tool. So why should you carry one? You might not need to carry one, especially if you carry something like a Swiss Army knife. Then some of these tools, the things that they could be used for, could be taken in a slightly different way. You can just use a flathead on a multi-tool, for example. But the kind of things that you'd be doing with this is, loosening the clips on a container. You can get some good scraping action with these to lift something up. Say, it's quite disgusting, but sometimes you might have to clean some dried chewing gum off of a surface I've had to do that in work before. That is very unpleasant, but this is a good tool for it. You know, scraping stickers off, that kind of thing. The bottle opener does definitely increase the functionality. You don't have to drink alcohol. There are plenty of juices. Sometimes you can get glass Coke, which tastes better too, where that can be useful. And if you get more of these cutouts, integrated bit drivers, then the uses increase as well. The reason to carry stuff like this is because a knife is not a pry bar, a knife is not a screwdriver. People sometimes use them for those things, which often results in the tips or sometimes more of the knife breaking, and it's just frankly dangerous and destructive. Now again, as I've already mentioned, if you carry something like a Swiss Army knife or another multi-tool, you can kind of push that off onto the cap lifter, screwdrivers, that kind of thing. Something to bear in mind is that these are often just going to be a lot thinner and potentially a lot softer in the steel and the heat treatment than a pry bar. And at the same time, whereas this is a solid piece, all of these are solid pieces, this, and it would be the same on any of the multi-tool, is a small piece riveted into a bigger piece, right? You have multiple points of failure. You could damage the rivet as you're prying, especially in a twisting motion. If you're twisting in the wrong direction, you could deform the liners. So yes, you can use this for some prying tasks, but only exceedingly light prying tasks that even a dirt cheap, and I think this was like £2 on Amazon a few years ago, a dirt cheap pry bar would do better. Now, whether or not you should carry one in a dedicated fashion entirely depends on how prepared you want to be and what kind of tasks you do on a day-to-day basis. If you do more, say, of a trade, then you might find it useful to have one around, just because it can help you open various kinds of containers and you can put it through a little bit of abuse. If you work in an office, maybe not so much, although you might just end up using it as a glorified bottle opener. You know, that is an option as well. Where I think pry bars or one-piece tools excel is when they are preferably more than just a pry bar. If it's going to be just a pry bar, it should be a very beefy, good version of it, like the Rogan. It should have multifunctional. It should bring as much to the table for its form factor and its size as possible. And I would say that you should carry it in two instances. You should carry it when it can just be put off on a keychain, like I do with my Brew Pry, or you can do with a Shard. Or I did have another one. Sorry to neglect you in the frame. Here is a Kershaw one-piece tool too. If you can just put it on a keychain, great, you can forget about it. It's there when you need it. On the other hand is when you can put it in a kit. Now, this is, and I believe I've shown it on the channel before, I don't have it on the table recording with me, but this just lives in a little organizer that also carries a torch, flashlight, knife, and a pen. Like, I don't take this out that much, but I use all the other stuff more often, and when I have those things, I have this. And so when I need to open a bottle, when I need to, you know, use something to pry with, I have this. There is a very real thing where these, particularly like titanium pry bars, and some other ones like brass is also a very popular metal. Realistically, and this can apply to a lot of tools, obviously this is a case-by-case, person-by-person basis, it's just something to have because you're into EDC, something that you like to carry, something that you like to take pictures of, and that's fine. You can buy whatever you want to buy. That's something that brings you joy, that's fine. You just need to recognize that that might be the only reason you're carrying one of these tools. That's okay. There might be a blue moon where you actually end up using it, in which case you're prepared. But you need to realize that just because other people are carrying it doesn't mean that you necessarily will benefit from carrying it. That's the really big thing here, and I think that applies to pry bars or one-piece tools significantly more than it applies to knives, flashlights, pens. Like, all that other stuff you will most likely need at some point during the week, if not on a daily basis. But you could very easily go weeks or months at a time without not having a legitimate use for a pry bar. That's a thing. So when you're considering whether or not to buy one, it's okay to buy it just because you like it, but just consider that it might not be something that actually sees a lot of use, which can be a little misleading because in the EDC hobby, there's a lot of videos, there's a lot of pictures where you're going to see stuff like this. And so you think people carry it because it's useful, and it might be useful for them, or they might just carry it because they like it. And I guess that really wraps this up. Like, pry bars, One Piece tools can be exceedingly useful, but it depends on the tool, it depends on the person. At the end of the day, if all you're doing is taking pictures of it, as long as that makes you happy, it's money well spent and weight well carried. But that might be all that you do with it. I personally use these things from time to time. I don't mind carrying them, owning, having them, being able to use them has real value to me. It might not have value to you, but let me know down in the comments below, has this sparked any thoughts in you? Do you carry a pry bar? Have you been thinking about it? Do you actually use it? Let me know down below, and if you've made it this far, please consider liking and subscribing the video. Liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Every little helps. It really helps the channel grow, and whilst we're talking about helping the channel, please consider also subscribing to Patreon. The link is down in below. You get benefits like early access to videos, and there are some other things. Check out the tiers, and every bit of financial aid does help put new tools in front of the channel, helps increase the quality of the videos, and helps ensure that I stick around to keep bringing content that I enjoy making, and hopefully you enjoy watching. But until next time, I've been Paul, and I hope you, yeah you, have a wonderful day.